Yay!
Hello, Susie Godsey.
um, Hello. It's very funny. I'm having like a thing where it says this was removed on Facebook and you can't stream to that. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Cancel, whatever. Okay. Multitasking, not my forte.
Help, I can't catch my Facebook.
Exactly. Help. I can't. Let's just start there, right?
Yes, so conclusions. So, I mean, the amount of times, yeah, or I should rewind. How many times do you hear yourself saying, I can't? Or you hear other people saying, I can't. So, your point of view creates your reality. So, if you're saying, I can't, does that actually create a space for a possibility for something else to show up? Bye bye. Computer says no.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, and by the way, I have to say this because it is so strong, and of course you cannot perceive it because it's a smell that I'm talking about. My dog Diego just went outside and ate horse shit. So how wonderful is that? Because we're trying to catch a horse in this, and all I can smell is horse shit. So that is just so good, right?
Such a
Mm.
contribution.
Exactly. But yeah, like back to the idea that when you come to conclusion, and the thing with like not being able to catch a horse, obviously there's a story here, right? It doesn't just it's not something that just starts. Either your horse came with that issue or that issue was created while you had the horse. But in either case, there's always a story. And
Mm.
I think that's the part that is the hardest to overcome. And then to really look at, oh, my horse cannot be caught. When that becomes your point of view, then it's going to be so difficult to overcome all of that, because with your energy that you're now projecting, your horse is going to start even playing more of that game.
Mm.
So this is where it gets a little tricky.
Mm.
And you're going to have to really look at, okay, what is it that I am creating here that creates the
Mm.
situation? And that's where you have to start. You have to start with you, and you have to be willing to look at, what is it that I am creating that makes this so?
Mm. Yeah, and the story, Susie. I mean, I get a lot of people vastly underestimate the power of their point of view. So whatever that point of view is, you keep invoking and perpetrating that. Meaning, you keep saying it, repeating it, telling people, telling yourself, telling the horse. And so, what is that going to create? Is it going to create a different result or not? So it's looking at, number one, your story, number two, your languaging. And the most important part of this is the energy that you're projecting and being. So everything is energy. And particularly in the animal kingdom, that's how they live 24/7. So if your horse is feeling like it's being chased or cornered or trapped or captured or put into a, what they perceive as a life-threatening situation, then they instinctively are going to do what they can in their mind to save their life. So if you come across as a predator, even if you've got a bucket of food and you're warm and fuzzy and you're nice and friendly, and you might just be going to groom your horse or whatever, but they're perceiving the energy of, there's a threat and it's coming towards me. And so their natural instinct kicks in and they run. They do whatever they can to defend themselves and protect their life. So how do we overcome this? How do we begin to change the story? Number one, like you said, Susie, with yourself. So what tool would you give people for somebody that are willing to look at, hang on, I'm creating this, or I'm definitely not helping the situation. How can I play my part and begin to change this story and make it easier?
Yeah. I think the first thing also I would look at is maybe really just be with your horse for a moment and ask a few questions. What is creating this situation? Like Viv was saying, am I being a predator here? Am I a threat to you? Is it about me? Or is it some other learned behavior that was created with somebody else or with a different situation? Or what actually is going on for your horse, because that also will make a little bit of a difference how you approach that. Because if you are being a predator and that's what's going on, then I would start to ask the question, okay, so how do I become horse friendly? Okay, what do I have to change for my horse to see me as a partner, as a playing partner, as basically somebody that they respect, that they trust? What do I have to become to be trustworthy to my horse? Um, and that's a big question. And, I think that one of the things too is that when people have an issue with an animal, they forget that sometimes it takes a little bit of space and time to kind of overcome that. And so if you don't have that space and time, especially when it's about catching your horse, you're going to also now fight a whole nother element. So if this is about, I have to catch my horse today because I have to get it looked at or whatever it might be, that's going to add an extra layer of stress to you and the horse. So, in situations like that, I would say give yourself some space. Allow yourself to say, you know what? I'm going to approach this the next month without the agenda to ever even catch my horse. What would that create? And would you be willing to then really look at every moment of that and go, okay, wow, interesting. My horse just turned away from me. Okay, what was that? And can I change that energy? And really work with the nuances of this rather than trying to, I gotta go out and catch my horse today,
Yeah. Starting with that very first choice, the very first step, without pressure, without expectations. So horses will move away from pressure. They don't respond to pressure. And so a lot of the times when we approach them, we don't even know, we're not aware or recognizing the energy that we're walking around with and broadcasting all day, and this is the gift of working with horses, and especially the tools of access, where you start to foster and cultivate and develop your own self-awareness as to what you're being, because most people are just these heads on legs trying to get through life the best way that they can, and yet they lean into the animal kingdom and want to spend time with horses because there is a different space that they invite us to, where the walking head doesn't have to be just busy and crazy all the time. We can actually get to be. A horse that I had a number of years ago, she'd been quite badly abused, and I knew that I was in for a journey, and I was more than happy to give her the space to decompress from whatever she'd experienced. So one thing I started with was I just throw her a biscuit of hay, a slice of hay out into the paddock, and I'd just go and sit in the paddock with her. And I'd be very aware of where she was comfortable. How close could I get to her before she started to, move her body and stop eating, or move her eyes or twitch her ears? And so I would just be on that edge of where I'm not pressuring her, but I would just sit on the ground, and I might just take a coffee with me and not stare at her, not look at her, but just sit in her presence. And then I'd take her feed bucket out a bit later on and then do the same thing. And day by day, I got closer and closer and closer to her, where I could just sit right with her head at my feet with hay. And that's a really practical, simple thing that you can do just to begin to melt and dissolve and disperse, I guess, all of that static that gets built up between you and your horse. Start to change the energy. Then they will immediately respond with a different response to you, and when you have that connection, for me, there's nothing greater when that horse is actually willing, without any pressure, without any force or any entrapment, they're willing just to be relaxed in your presence, and then it's reach out and touch them a little bit. But the temptation to do too much too soon, and the horse runs away, it's like it's a dance of patience and kindness and allowance of the process, without, like you said, Susie, without that expectation. And look, I appreciate people maybe listening to this going, I don't have that amount of time. I've got to ride this horse and the blacksmith's coming and I've got to get but it's like, what do you desire more than having a stressful experience with your horse? This is even before you've caught them. All of this is building up, let alone what you'd like to do with them for the next hour or day or whatever it is. So these steps that you're taking lay a massive foundation and an energetic relationship that will carry you through everything. This is one of the most basic but most powerful and potent of choices that you can make to create that environment with yourself and with them where they feel that they want to be with you. They're not threatened by you.
Yeah. And I think that is so important what we've just said, because I personally know of a person who had this issue with the horse and then actually just sold the horse because it got to a point where this particular thing was just driving her nuts, and she was no longer willing now to go out there and try to catch her horse. Once she caught the horse was totally fine and wonderful to ride and everything, but just the act of going out there over and over and over and trying to catch this horse, and and so there are some things here where you have to be willing to not give up, and one of the things is too, if you're not sure like how you can work with your body language and all that with a horse like that, please, there are so many videos now of some really excellent people out there that are playing with horses. And one of the things that I do want to say here, and I know that a lot of the natural horseman people are now saying, please don't try to bribe your horse, because bribing with food, especially, I mean, what Viv was saying is something different. That's like just having the horse eat and really getting used to you being in their presence while they're eating and not seeing you as a threat is a different story than having like food in your hand and going out there to try to catch your horse. Some horses don't do well from being hand fed. They might develop some other issues with that, because in the horse world, there is such a strong rank when it comes to food, and it is so important to know that, the lead horse gets to eat first, and the lead horse can push another horse away from the feed. Now, if you are letting a horse approach you and take food out of your hand, you're basically, unless you are being a very strong leader in all other aspects of this relationship, you might start out here with the wrong foot. Okay, so and this is not to say this is the non plus ultra. Please, guys, we're never saying don't do something like this 100%, because there's always exceptions. But I would say, to me, developing this relationship in a way that is built on trust and respect is a very different one when it's without the food. And your horse should really enjoy coming to you and looking forward to playing with you and having outings with you and all of that. So if this horse is having an issue with that for whatever reason, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad person, but there is something here where the trust is broken, or the relationship is not what it could be. So really taking that time to build that foundation where that horse actually wants to be with you is so, so, so important.
Yeah. And, like you said right at the beginning, Susie, the story, just what else could you insert instead of repeating the story? Catch yourself. It's like, well, what would it take for me to have an amazing bond with my horse? What would it take to be able to have my horse walk up to me? Look at what you desire to have and start putting your energy into what you desire to have. Even if you feel like you might be, light years away from that right now, you have to start somewhere different and with a different point of view. And the question, I know that might sound a bit flippant to some people that have had a frustrating experience with an animal, with a horse trying to catch it, but it's like, it's the beginning. The question creates the space for you. It creates the curiosity. It gets you out of the do, the force and the pressure, and it gets you into that place of curiosity. What would invite my horse to come and be with me? What could I be that would be, a welcoming space for this horse? How can I be seen and received as one of their herd members? Because that's ultimately, when we have that bond, they do accept us. We are part of their herd. They trust us, like you were saying, Susie, with that bond. So the question is the beginning of the possibility. And yes, there's probably infinite other steps to take after that, but that at least is you desiring something different rather than this battle or this, oh God, you know, I've got to rally the troops to come and corner this horse or whatever it is. So yeah, it is. It's a journey. And patience is something that not many of us are good at these days. So animals facilitate us in so many ways.
Exactly. Oh my God, the amounts of times where, and this is not even about catching my horse, but in other areas where I wanted to rush into something that involved an animal because I had some kind of time restraint for whatever reason, had to get someplace or whatever it was. Oh gosh, this never works around animals. You know, once you get into that time crunch, it really becomes the most bizarre energy, and all animals have a reaction to that, or most animals have a reaction to that, and they will inevitably delay you. So, you know, it's this is also one of those where you have to really check your agenda. You know, what's my agenda today? And really, truly, what if you could just drop your agenda altogether and really make it about, okay, something is not working here. How can we make this work? And so instead of actually looking at, once I catch my horse, I will do A, B, C, or D, what if really it was just about, hey, how do I, like Viv said, how do I create this relationship where the horse actually wants to be around me, wants to come to me, sees me as a herd member? What do I have to do to be that? And remember too, you know, we as people, we don't live around our horses 24/7. So they have other friends that they hang out with. You know, it's different than with your dogs and cats that usually spend a lot of time with us. Horses usually don't. We don't have horses in our living rooms. We don't sleep in their stalls, you know. So it's a little bit different in that sense. You're only coming there for a very small portion of their 24-hour day. And so you also have to recognize that, you know, you are not part of their daily life in that way. And so how can you create enough curiosity in their world that they would like to spend at least that hour with you per day, or the 2 hours, or however many hours you have in a day for them, or maybe in a week? Like, how many hours a week can you actually have with your horse? And be realistic with that too. So it's not about you personally. It's not that your horse is like, oh, you know, this particular fuck off, I don't want to have anything to do with you, you know. So please don't take this personally. Whatever got created here, please don't make it about you personally or the horse personally, but really look at, what can we change to make this work? Both of us, you know, what is possible? Like Viv was saying earlier, please look at what question you can be and ask to change it, and to really for you to get out of that frustration. Whatever you have to do to overcome that frustration, please do it. You know, whether that's meditating, talking to someone, whatever it might be, for you to come out of the frustration is the biggest step of all of this, because your horse will thank you if you have more space in your world. And if you don't come with an agenda, your horse will really thank you for that.
Amen.
I love you.
And yeah, and that's a brilliant point, Susie, because a lot of people, not everybody, I get this, but a lot of people have this agenda driving them all the time when they go to their horse. You know, it's like they want something, they expect something, they're going to do something. And that horses hang out a lot of the time together. They're not doing, if you've noticed, they hang out. They mutually groom, they graze, they snooze, they have each other's backs, they turn their bums to the weather, whatever's going on. So what hanging out could you just do with your horse, just for the fun of it, finding its sweet spot and scratching it, you know? Or what could you be with your horse so it doesn't feel that you're constantly having this agenda going on behind the scenes? So yeah, what else is possible for you and your horses?
Yay.
Was that a yay or nay? Thank you. Thank you, Susie. Yet another amazing conversation.
Thank you, Miss Viv. And yeah, so thank you all for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this and got something out of it. And please remember, Talk to the Animals has many, many, many tools to also get you over your points of view. So, come play with us.
And if you are watching this on mine or Susie's YouTube channel, please click like, share, comment, and subscribe. It helps get the information out there to other people who may be curious and wondering what else is out there that I don't know yet. And my
Good
famous
point.
line, may the horse be with you.
Exactly. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.